Hey everyone, get ready because I'm about to tell you a super cool story. It's full of surprises and I promise you'll want to hear every single part. Picture this, it was a bright sunny Saturday morning in a place called Pinewood Estates. That's where I lived. My name's Jake and I'm just a regular guy, or at least that's what people thought. I was sitting in my backyard, sipping some yummy coffee, enjoying the warm sun on my face. Everything seemed perfect, like a happy day you'd see in a movie. But something big was about to happen, and no one saw it coming. Not even me at first. See, I'd moved into this little neighborhood a few months ago. It was a quiet place with green grass, tall trees, and houses all lined up nice and neat. I liked it because it felt peaceful. I didn't talk to too many people. I just kept to myself, doing my own thing. I wasn't loud or messy or anything like that. I was happy just being me, minding my own business. One day, I decided to build a little shed in my backyard. You know what a shed is, right? It's like a tiny house where you keep stuff like tools or a lawnmower. Mine was super simple, nothing fancy at all, just some wood and a door. I thought it was pretty cool, a little spot for my hammers and shovels. I smiled every time I looked at it. It made my yard feel like home. But not everyone liked my shed. Nope, someone out there didn't think it was okay. Someone was watching me closer than I knew. And that someone had a name, Karen. Oh boy, Karen was something else. If you've ever had a neighbor who's always sticking their nose where it doesn't belong, you'll know exactly what I mean. Karen was that kind of person. She was always peeking over fences, looking at what everyone was doing. She'd walk around with her head held high, like she was the boss of everything. As if someone parked their car a little crooked or left a toy in the yard, Karen would be right there, ready to tell them off. She loved telling people what to do. It was like her favorite game. Now, I didn't know Karen very well when I moved in. I saw her a few times, walking her tiny dog or waving at people with a big fake smile. She seemed okay at first, but then I built that shed and everything changed. Karen didn't like it one bit. I don't know why. It wasn't ugly or loud or anything. It was just a shed. But to Karen, it was like I'd built a giant monster house in my yard. She started watching me all the time. I'd catch her staring out her window, her eyes squinting at my shed like it was up to no good. Sometimes she'd even walk by super slow, pretending she wasn't looking. But I knew she was. I could feel it. Here's the funny thing though. Karen thought she knew everything about me. She thought I was just some boring guy who didn't matter. She'd see me in my yard, drinking my coffee or pulling weeds, and she'd probably think, oh, that Jake guy, he's nobody special. But she was wrong, so wrong. See, I had a secret, a big one. And Karen had no idea who she was messing with, not a clue. That's what makes this story so exciting. It's like when you're playing hide and seek and you've got the best hiding spot ever and no one can find you. That was me, hiding something huge right under everyone's nose. Let me tell you a little more about that Saturday morning. The birds were chirping, all happy and loud. The sky was blue, with fluffy white clouds floating by. My coffee was warm in my hands and I was just sitting there, relaxing in a chair. My shed was right behind me, looking all nice and sturdy. I remember thinking, wow, this is a great day. I had no idea trouble was coming. I didn't know Karen was already planning something. She was probably sitting in her house, looking out her window, her brain spinning with ideas about how to get me. She didn't like my shed, and she wasn't going to let it go. Nope, not Karen. She was the kind of person who'd fight over anything, even something as little as a shed. I bet you're wondering what my shed looked like. Okay, I'll tell you, it was small, about the size of a big doghouse. I made it out of wood I bought at the store. The wood was brown and smooth, and I painted it with a coat of green paint so it'd match the grass. It had a little door I could lock with a key and one tiny window so I could peek inside. That's it, nothing crazy. I didn't put up lights or flags or anything wild. It was just a plain old shed for my stuff. I kept my rake in there, a shovel, and some old gloves. Sometimes I'd go in and sit for a minute just because it felt like my own little space. I liked it a lot. But Karen, she acted like my shed was the worst thing ever. Maybe she thought it was ugly. Maybe she didn't like that I didn't ask her if I could build it. In Pinewood Estates, there's this group called the HOA. It's like a club that makes rules for the neighborhood. Karen was the boss of it. She loved telling people what they could and couldn't do, like no pink flamingos in your yard, or your mailbox has to be blue, silly stuff like that. I didn't care much about the HOA. I just wanted to live my life, but Karen cared. Oh, she cared a lot. And my shed, it broke one of her precious rules, I guess. She never told me which one, but I could tell she was mad. So there I was, that sunny morning, not knowing what was coming. I was happy, chilling in my yard, thinking everything was fine. My shed was standing there, quiet and harmless. The neighbors were doing their own things, mowing lawns, walking dogs, whatever. It felt like a normal day. But Karen was already watching. She was already planning. She didn't know it yet, but she was about to start something big. Something she'd never expect. And me, I was ready, even if I didn't know it yet. Let me ask you something real quick. Have you ever had a neighbor like Karen, someone who's always in your business telling you what to do? What would you do if someone started snooping on your every move? Would you ignore them? Would you talk to them? Or would you just wait and see what happened? I want to know. Tell me in the comments, because I bet some of you have funny stories too. Oh, and while you're at it, let me know where you're reading this from. Are you at home, at school, somewhere cool? I'm curious. Back to the story. That morning, I finished my coffee and stood up to stretch. The sun was getting higher and my yard looked so nice. I glanced at my shed and smiled. It was my little project, something I'd built with my own hands. I didn't think it'd cause any trouble. I mean, who gets mad about a shed? Apparently, Karen does. I didn't see her right then, but I bet she was there, hiding behind her curtains, staring at me. She was probably thinking, that shed has to go. She didn't know I wasn't just some regular guy. She didn't know I had something up my sleeve. See, I wasn't just Jake, the guy with the coffee and the shed. I was more than that, a lot more, but I'm not going to tell you what yet. Nope, that's the fun part. You've got to keep reading to find out. Let's just say Karen picked the wrong person to mess with. She thought she was so smart, watching me, judging me. She thought she could boss me around like she did everyone else. But she was about to learn something big, something that'd make her wish she'd left me alone. That's how it all started. A sunny day, a little shed, and a nosy neighbor named Karen. It sounds simple, right? But trust me, it's not. This story's got twists and turns, and I can't wait to tell you more. What do you think Karen's going to do next? And what's my big secret? You'll find out soon. Stick with me because this is just the beginning. Okay, let's keep going with this wild story. So I told you about me, Jake, and my little shed in the backyard. Everything was nice and calm until Karen showed up. Oh boy, Karen wasn't just a regular nosy neighbor. Nope, she was way more than that. She was like the queen of the HOA. You know what the HOA is, right? It's this group in the neighborhood that makes all the rules, like what color your house can be or how tall your grass can grow. Silly stuff if you ask me, but Karen, she loved it. She acted like Pinewood Estates was her own little kingdom, and she was the boss of everyone. Karen had this way about her. She walked around with her nose in the air like she was better than all of us. She'd carry a clipboard everywhere. Yep, a clipboard. It was her favorite thing. She'd write down stuff she didn't like about people's yards or houses, then tell them to fix it. If your dog barked too loud or your flowers weren't perfect, Karen would be right there, shaking her head and saying, "That's not allowed." She thought she could tell everyone what to do, and most people just listened because they didn't want trouble. But me, I wasn't so sure about that. Now let's talk about my shed again. I told you it was small and simple, right? Just a little green box in my yard for my tools. I liked it a lot, but Karen, she hated it. Oh, she really, really hated it. The first time she saw it, her eyes got all squinty and her mouth turned into a big frown. She marched right over to my house, her clipboard in her hand, and started talking loud. "Jake," she said, pointing at my shed like it was a monster. "That thing is an eyesore. It's ugly and it's against the rules." An eyesore, that's a fancy word for something that looks bad. I didn't think my shed was ugly at all, but Karen sure did. She kept going, her voice getting louder. "Take it down, Jake, take it down right now or I'll make you regret it," she barked. She sounded like a teacher scolding a kid who forgot his homework. I just stood there looking at her. She was so mad, her face was turning red. I didn't say much, I just smiled and nodded, acting all calm and nice. But inside, oh inside, I was laughing so hard, not out loud of course, I kept that to myself. But I thought it was funny how worked up she got over a little shed. It wasn't hurting anyone. Karen didn't stop there though. She'd come back again and again. Every few days there she was standing in my yard waving that clipboard around. "Jake, I'm serious," she'd say. "This shed has to go. It's breaking the HOA rule." I'd ask her, "What rules?" But she never told me. She'd just huff and puff like a big angry wolf and stomp away. I think she liked being mad. It made her feel important. And me, I kept smiling, kept nodding, kept acting like everything was fine. I didn't want a big fight, not yet anyway. Here's the thing about Karen, she thought she knew me. She thought I was some pushover, someone she could boss around super easy. She'd look at me with this little smirk on her face like she was so smart and I was so dumb. Sometimes she'd even say mean stuff. One day she stood right in front of my shed and said, "People like you don't belong here, Jake." Ouch, right, that hurt a little. I mean, I'm just a guy living in a house trying to enjoy my coffee and my yard. Why didn't I belong just because of a shed? It didn't make sense. But Karen didn't care if it made sense. She wanted to win. She wanted everyone to do what she said all the time. She'd walk around the neighborhood telling people what to fix and they'd usually listen. Like Mr. Thompson down the street, he had a little flag on his porch and Karen made him take it down because it was too bright. Or Mrs. Lee, who painted her door yellow. Karen said it had to be white, so Mrs. Lee changed it. Karen always got her way. She thought she'd get her way with me, too. She thought I'd just give up, tear down my shed and say, "Yes, Karen, you're right." but nope, that wasn't me. See, every time Karen yelled at me, I didn't get mad. I didn't yell back or stomp my feet. I stayed calm. I'd smile and say, "Okay, Karen, I'll think about it." But inside, I was getting smarter. I was watching her, figuring her out. She thought I was helpless, like a little kid who couldn't do anything. She thought I'd just do whatever she wanted because she was the queen of the HOA. But she didn't know something big. She didn't know I wasn't as helpless as she thought, not even close. I had a trick up my sleeve, and she was going to find out soon enough. Let's talk about one day that really stuck with me. It was a Tuesday, I think. The sun was out, and I was in my yard watering some flowers. My shed was right there, looking all nice and green. I was happy. Then I heard footsteps, fast ones. I looked up, and there was Karen marching toward me like she was on a mission. Her clipboard was flapping in her hand, and her face was all scrunched up. "Jake," she shouted, "I've had enough of this. That shed is a problem, and you're a problem too." She pointed at it again like it was the worst thing she'd ever seen. "Take it down by tomorrow or I'm calling someone," she said. I tilted my head and asked, "Calling who?" She didn't answer. She just glared at me, her eyes all mean and sharp. "You'll see," she said, then turned around and stomped off. I watched her go, her little dog trailing behind her, barking at nothing. I didn't say anything out loud, but inside I was giggling. Calling someone? Who was she going to call? The shed police. It was so silly, but I knew Karen wasn't joking. She was serious, and she was mad. She wanted my shed gone, and she'd do anything to make it happen. That's when the tension started to grow. Tension is like when things feel tight and tricky, like a tug-of-war game. Karen kept pushing me and I kept staying calm, but it wasn't easy. Every time she came over, I could feel my heart beat a little faster. Not because I was scared, oh no, it was because I knew something she didn't. I knew I wasn't just some guy she could boss around. I had a secret, a big one, and it was going to change everything. But I didn't tell her that, not yet. I just let her keep talking, keep yelling, keep thinking she was in charge. Sometimes I'd catch her watching me from her house. Her window faced my yard and I'd see her curtains move a little. She'd peek out, staring at my shed like it was her enemy. I'd wave at her all friendly like and she'd duck away real fast. It was funny to me. She thought she was so sneaky, but I saw her every time. She didn't know I was paying attention. She didn't know I was getting ready for whatever she'd do next. Every mean word she said, every time she smirked at me, it just made me quieter and smarter. So there we were, Karen, the HOA queen, versus me, the guy with the shed. She thought it was an easy fight. She thought she'd win, no problem, but she didn't see what was coming. She didn't know I wasn't just smiling and nodding for no reason. I was waiting for the right moment. Because here's the truth, I wasn't helpless, not at all. And soon, Karen was going to find that out the hard way. What do you think? Can you feel the tension building? It's like a storm getting ready to hit. Karen was so sure of herself, but I had something big hiding. What do you think she'll do next? And what's my secret? Keep reading because this story about to get even better. Alright, let's keep this story rolling. Things were getting wild in Pinewood Estates and it all started with Karen and my little shed. Weeks went by after she first got mad and guess what? She didn't stop. Not even a little bit. Karen was like a dog with a bone, she just wouldn't let it go. Every day she found a new way to bug me about that shed. It was crazy. I'd come home from getting groceries or taking a walk and there'd be something waiting for me. Nasty notes. Yup, Karen started leaving them right on my front door. They were mean too. Stuff like, tear it down, Jake, or else. Or else what? I didn't know, but it sounded spooky. The notes were written in big, angry letters. She'd use a red pen sometimes, like she was trying to scare me. One said, "That shed is ugly, get rid of it now." Another one said, "You're in big trouble if you don't listen." I'd pick them up, read them, and just shake my head. Karen thought she could boss me around with her silly notes, but I wasn't scared. Nope, I'd crumple them up and toss them in the trash. Then I'd go sit in my yard, look at my shed, and smile. It was still there, still green, still mine. Karen could write all the notes she wanted. I wasn't tearing it down. But Karen didn't stop with notes. Oh no, she had bigger plans. She kept coming over too. She'd march up to my house, her clipboard in her hand, and start yelling. "Jake, this shed is against the rules," she'd say. "I'm the HOA queen and I say it has to go." I'd stand there all calm and quiet and just nod. "Okay, Karen," I'd say real soft. She'd huff and puff, then stomp away. I think she liked yelling at me. It made her feel strong. But me, I was still laughing inside. She had no idea what was coming. Then one day, Karen went way too far. This was the big moment, the one that changed everything. It was a sunny afternoon and I was inside my house looking out my window. I saw Karen standing in her yard holding her phone. She was talking fast, her face all red and mad. I couldn't hear her, but I could tell she was up to something. Then I saw it. Police cars. Yup, you heard that right. Karen called 911 on my shed. Can you believe it? She told the person on the phone that my shed was suspicious. That's a word that means something looks sneaky or bad. She even said it was probably hiding something illegal. Illegal means against the law, like stealing or breaking rules. I stood there, peeking through my curtains, watching it all happen. Karen hung up her phone and crossed her arms. She looked so proud of herself, like she'd just won a big prize. She stood in the street, waiting, with this big smirk on her face. A few minutes later, the cops showed up. 2 police cars rolled into our neighborhood, their lights flashing red and blue. It was loud, too. Those sirens made a big wee-oo sound. My neighbors started poking their heads out, wondering what was going on. Karen pointed right at my shed like she'd caught a bad guy red-handed. "That's it," she said to the cops. "That shed right there, it's trouble." I couldn't believe my eyes. The police got out of their cars, 2 of them wearing their dark uniforms and shiny badges. They looked serious, like they were ready to solve a big crime. Karen was bouncing on her feet, so excited. She thought she'd finally got me. She thought the cops would march over, knock on my door, and tell me to tear down my shed. Maybe she even thought they'd arrest me. I could see it in her eyes. She was sure she'd won. But here, where it gets really good, the cops didn't come to my door. Nope. They didn't even walk toward my house. They just stood there. I watched from my window, my heart beating a little faster. The officers looked at my shed, then at Karen. They didn't say much at first. One of them pulled out his radio, you know, those little walkie-talkie things cops use. He started talking into it, real quiet. I couldn't hear what he said, but he kept looking at my shed, then back at his partner. The other cop nodded, like they were sharing a secret. Karen was still standing there, arms crossed, waiting for them to do something. But they didn't move. They didn't knock on my door or yell at me. They just kept talking into that radio, all calm and cool. Karen's face started to change. That big smirk she had, it was fading fast. She looked confused. Her eyebrows went up and her mouth opened a little like she didn't understand. "Hey," she said to the cops, her voice getting loud again. "Aren't you going to do something? That shed is illegal. I called you for a reason." The cops looked at her, but they didn't answer right away. One of them said something into his radio again, then turned to his partner and shrugged. Karen's face twisted even more. Something wasn't right and she could feel it. She wasn't in charge anymore and it was driving her crazy. I stayed at my window watching it all. I wasn't scared, not one bit. See, this is where the story starts to get fun. Those cops, they weren't acting like Karen wanted them to. They weren't mad at me or my shed. They were just standing there like they knew something Karen didn't. And guess what? They did. I'm not going to tell you everything yet because that's the big surprise. But let's just say I wasn't as helpless as Karen thought. Every time she yelled at me or left those notes, I was watching her back. I was waiting for her to do something big, like calling the cops. And now she had, but it wasn't going the way she planned. Let's talk about Karen for a second. She was so sure of herself. For weeks, she'd been leaving those notes and bossing me around. She thought I'd give up. She thought I'd say, "Okay, Karen, you win," and take down my shed. But I didn't. I kept it there nice and green right in my yard. And every time she got mad, I got a little smarter. I started noticing things, like how she'd always call the HOA rules her rules, even though other people were in the group too. Or how she'd peek out her window at night thinking I couldn't see her. I saw it all. I was quiet, but I wasn't dumb. Back to that day with the cops. The neighbors were watching now too. Old Mr. Thompson was on his porch squinting at the police cars. Mrs. Lee was by her mailbox whispering to her husband. Everyone wanted to know what was happening. Karen kept talking to the cops, her voice getting higher and higher. "Do your job," she said. "That shed is a problem. I'm the HOA queen and I say it's got to go." But the cops didn't listen. They just kept standing there talking into their radios. One of them even smiled a little, like he thought something was funny. Karen didn't see that smile, but I did, and it made me smile too. What do you think was going on? Why didn't the cops come to my door? Why were they acting so weird? Karen was starting to figure out that something was off, but she didn't know what. She thought she had all the power, but she was wrong. I had something up my sleeve, something big. Those weeks of notes and yelling were building up to this moment. Karen thought she was winning, but she was about to lose. Not just a little, but a lot. I wasn't just some guy with a shed. I was more than that. And the cops, they knew it. So there we were, Karen mad as ever and me watching from my window. The cops were in the middle, acting all mysterious. The neighbors were peeking out, waiting to see what happened next. It was like a big game and Karen didn't know the rules. She thought she'd caught me, but she was the one in trouble now. What do you think my secret is? Why didn't the cops listen to her? You'll find out soon, because this story about to get even better. Stick with me, it's going to be awesome. Okay everyone, this is it, the best part of the story. Things were about to get super exciting. It was the next morning after Karen called the cops on my shed. The sun was up, the birds were chirping, and I was inside my house just chilling. Then I heard it bang, bang, bang. Someone was pounding on my door hard. I peeked out the window and there she was, Karen. She was back and boy was she mad. Her face was red, her eyes were wild, and she was shouting so loud I could hear her through the walls. "Jake, you think you're so clever, huh? Well, I've got proof now," she yelled. She was waving her phone in the air like it was a prize. I walked to the door nice and slow and opened it. Karen didn't even wait. She kept talking fast and loud. "I took pictures of that shed," she said, holding up her phone. "I'm showing them to the whole HOA. They'll see what a troublemaker you are." She had this big grin like she'd finally won. She thought those pictures were going to ruin me. I just stood there, calm as ever, looking at her. She was so sure of herself, bouncing on her feet, ready to tell everyone I was bad news. But I wasn't worried, not one bit. I had something she didn't expect. "Karen," I said real quiet, "you might wanna sit down for this." She stopped, her grin went away and her eyes got big. She froze like a statue, staring at me. She didn't know what was coming, but I did. "See those cops she called the day before? They weren't just random police officers who showed up for no reason. Nope, they knew me. They knew me really well. And here's the big surprise. I wasn't just Jake, the quiet guy with a shed. I was Jake Donovan, undercover detective." "That's right, I was a secret cop." Let me explain what that means, because it's super cool. An undercover detective is someone who works for the police but no one knows it. I didn't wear a uniform or drive a police car. I looked like a regular guy living in a regular house, sipping coffee in my yard, but I had a big job. My shed, it wasn't just for tools like I told everyone. It was part of a sting operation. A sting operation is like a secret plan to catch bad guys. There was this shady dealer, someone selling bad stuff, living 2 streets over. I was watching him, keeping an eye on him, and my shed was helping me do it. Crazy, right? Karen didn't know any of this. Her jaw dropped when I told her. That means her mouth fell open because she was so shocked. I reached into my pocket and pulled out my badge. A badge is this shiny metal thing cops carry to show who they are. It had my name on it, Jake Donovan, and a little star. I held it up so Karen could see. "You called the cops on me," I said real calm, "but they were already here working with me." Her eyes got even bigger, like they might pop out of her head. She didn't say anything. She could. She just stood there holding her phone, looking silly. Let's rewind a little so you get the full picture. The day before, when Karen called 911, she thought she was so smart. She told them my shed was suspicious and illegal. She thought the cops would come see my shed and make me tear it down. Maybe she even thought they'd take me away in handcuffs. But when the cops showed up, they didn't do that. They just stood there, talking into their radios, acting all weird. That's because they weren't there for me, they were my friends. They were part of my secret team. I'd told them about the shady dealer and they were helping me watch him. Karen's call didn't scare them, it just made them laugh. Back to that morning. Karen was still frozen in front of me, her phone shaking in her hand. What?" she finally said, her voice all wobbly. "You're a cop," I nodded. "Yup," I said, "and that shed you hate so much, it's helping me catch a real bad guy, not you though, you're just nosy." I smiled when I said it, but Karen didn't smile back. She looked like she wanted to run away. All those weeks of yelling at me, leaving notes, calling the cops, it was all for nothing. She thought she was the boss, but I was the one with the real power. I stepped outside and closed my door behind me. "See, Karen," I said, "you picked the wrong guy to mess with. I've been quiet because I had a job to do, but now you know." She blinked a bunch of times, like her brain was trying to catch up. But the HOA," she said, "the rules." I shook my head. "The HOA doesn't matter when it's police work," I told her. My shed stays. She didn't have anything to say to that. For once, Karen was out of words. This was the big moment, the climax. Everything Karen did led up to this. She thought she had proof with her pictures, but I had the truth with my badge. She thought she'd win, but I turned it all around. It felt good, too. All those times she yelled at me, smirked at me, told me I didn't belong, I just waited. And now she knew I wasn't just some guy. I was Jake Donovan, undercover detective, and my shed was part of something way bigger than her silly rules. What do you think Karen was thinking right then? Was she mad, scared, embarrassed? I bet it was all of those things. She stood there looking at my badge, then at my shed, then back at me. Her big plan had fallen apart and she didn't know what to do. This was the reveal she never saw coming. And the best part, it wasn't over yet. There was more to come, and Karen was about to learn even more about what happens when you mess with the wrong person. Stick around, because this story's still got some fun left. Okay, let's wrap up this crazy story. After I showed Karen my badge and told her I was an undercover detective, she didn't know what to say. Her face went super pale, like she'd seen a ghost. She started stuttering. I didn't know, but it was too late for that. She'd been mean to me for weeks, and now the truth was out. She couldn't boss me around anymore. That night there was a big HOA meeting, and oh boy, it was something to see. I walked into the meeting room holding my shiny badge in my hand. Everyone was there, all the neighbors who lived in Pinewood Estates. They were sitting in chairs, whispering to each other, waiting to hear what was going on. Karen was there too, but she didn't look happy anymore. I stood up in front of everyone and told the whole story. I said, "Hi, I'm Jake Donovan. I'm a secret cop, and my shed was helping me catch a bad guy." I explained how Karen called 911 on me, thinking she'd win, but the cops were my friends all along. The neighbors who used to agree with Karen, they looked so surprised. Some of them had even helped her be mean to me, nodding when she said my shed was bad, but now they couldn't even look at me. Their eyes were stuck on the floor like they were ashamed. Karen's big plan to get rid of my shed had gone all wrong. It backfired big time. That means it turned around and hit her instead of me. The HOA board, the people who make the rules, listened to me talk. Then they voted. Guess what? They kicked Karen out that night. No more HOA queen, no more clipboard, no more silly rules from her. Me, I got to keep my shed. Yup, it stayed right there in my yard, all green and perfect. And here's the best part, the shady dealer I was watching, we caught him the very next day. My shed helped make it happen. That eyesore Karen hated was actually a hero shed. The police nabbed the bad guy and the neighborhood was safer because of me. Karen didn't look so smart now, did she? A month later, Karen packed up and moved away. I saw her loading boxes into a truck, her head down like a dog with its tail between its legs. She didn't wave or say goodbye. I guess she didn't like living next to a hero after all. She tried so hard to make me feel small, but in the end, I was the big winner. The neighbors started being nice to me after that. They smile and say hi when I was in my yard. It felt good. So that's how it ended. Karen lost her power and justice was served. She learned she couldn't push everyone around. And me, I kept doing my job, keeping things safe, with my shed right by my side. What a wild ride. Hey everyone, we're at the end of this crazy story about me, Jake, and that nosy Karen. It was a wild ride, right? Now let's talk about what it all means. Here's the thing, sometimes the people who act the loudest, like they're the boss of everything, don't really have much to say. Think about Karen. She was always yelling, waving her clipboard, telling me what to do. She acted big and tough like she knew it all. But in the end, she didn't. She was just loud, not smart. Her big flop showed that being noisy doesn't make you right. Then there's me. I stayed quiet. I didn't yell back or get mad. I just smiled and waited. And guess what? That quiet guy me was the one holding all the cards. Holding all the cards means I had the secret power, like in a game where you've got the best hand. I was an undercover detective, and Karen had no clue. The ones who stay calm and cool, they might be stronger than you think. I didn't need to shout to win. I just let the truth come out, and it did. So here's something for you to remember. Next time someone tries to push you around like a bully or a bossy person, don't freak out. Keep your cool. That means stay calm even if they're being mean. Don't let them scare you or make you mad. Just wait, because the truth always comes out in the end. It did for me. Karen thought she could make me tear down my shed, but she was wrong. I stayed quiet, did my job, and showed everyone who I really was. You can do that too. Be strong inside, even if you're not loud outside. What did you think of Karen's big flop? Wasn't it funny how she thought she'd win, but then she lost everything? She went from HOA queen to moving away, all because she didn't know who she was messing with. I'd love to hear what you think. Drop a comment and tell me, did you laugh when Karen's plan fell apart? Did you cheer when I showed my badge? And hey, if this story got your heart racing, like you couldn't wait to see what happened next, give it a big like. It means a lot to me. This isn't goodbye forever, just see you later. I've got more fun stories to tell, and I can't wait to share them with you. Life's full of surprises just like this one. Sometimes the quiet kid, the little shed, or the person you don't notice, they're the ones who change everything. So keep your eyes open and your heart ready. You never know who's holding all the cards. See you in the next one, friends. Stay awesome.